First and foremost, what we believe is the future workforce ecosystem needs to be purpose driven. It is not a transaction. The employee is not coming to work to deliver something in return for money. Of course, that aspect is there. It will always be there. But the only way to do meaningful work with people over long term is to make sure that you give them a purpose to work with. Something deeper that appeals to them. That is what keeps people motivated and working with us for a long period of time. Yeah. So that's the first thing I can say about the future workforce ecosystem, is that it has to be purpose driven. The second thing is that it is going to be, however you want to phrase it, technology enabled, technology first, etc. But while there is purpose, we are going to use a lot of technology. Now, you can talk about artificial intelligence. That's the latest thing that everybody is talking about. When I started my career in 1995, we had no Google. And if you wanted to do something at work, you needed to know the subject. You needed to know the exact reference book and textbook. You needed to know which chapter to open, find the formula and apply it at work. In 2005, roughly the same job, I was Googling it. Today, I think I can open ChatGPT and tell him, tell him or her, sorry, make this for me, and that will be done in 5 minutes. Which means that it is going to be technology first. Technology is going to play a key role. So first, purpose, second, technology. The third thing that we need to remember is that it is going to be a diverse, equitable and inclusive work environment from every sense of the word. So the Honorable Director just mentioned about the LGBTQIA, the marriage case that is going on in the Supreme Court. More and more diversity is not going to mean just gender diversity. It is going to include diversity of all types. Yeah. So the third point you can say about the ecosystem is it is going to be diverse and inclusive. And lastly, I think there is an increasing expectation from people that their work has to be sustainable. What do I mean by that? Basically, I mean work-life balance. Gone are those days where you said you will work 80-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks for 5 years and then you will retire. That was never true anyway, but it is even less true now. More and more the expectation from people that we talk to when we talk to them at work is, give me something sustainable. I need to have a career of 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and I cannot have a 30-year career if I slog like this. So that is the fourth aspect that I would say is a part of the future HR ecosystem. Last but not the least, maybe slightly on the lighter note, if anybody still has the impression that we will never go back to office because that was the news in the post-COVID world and around the pandemic, rest assured we will go to office. The way we see it is every employee, when they join us, they go through a journey. Yeah, so you are recruited, you are onboarded, you are possibly trained for the job that you are supposed to do. You adapt to the culture, you start doing the job, you get your first recognition, you get your first appreciation, increment, promotion, and then the journey logically closes when there is a separation in some form or the other. Yeah, that's the employee journey. And the way we see it is our purpose. So the purpose of our company, what we say is, it is to give everyone a better way forward. And therefore, at every stage of this employee journey, we need to be constantly thinking in terms of what is a better way forward for this situation, what is a better way forward for the employee right now. So I think making sure that the culture is ingrained in every stage of the employee journey will be the job of HR. Managers will do their job, they will do their job to varying degrees. But if you depend on culture for somebody and making sure that culture becomes a part of the conversation with the employee at every stage of his journey, his or her journey in the company, then it is HR who has to do that. That's the first point. Second, we have to promote culture, our culture. So for example, The culture of our company is reflected in our 5 core values. So we have 5 core values. We say our core values are respect for facts, respect for customers, respect for shareholders, respect for people, and respect for the environment. These are our 5 core values. So at every opportunity, we as HR professionals need to live these values, and we also need to evangelize or propagate these values within the organization. So that is where I see the role of HR for a purpose-driven culture. A slight side note, a lot has been said about the gig economy. In fact, at Michelin, we experimented 2 years ago, and the experiment seems to have gone well. Within our HR system, we created the possibility for managers to create gigs, and we actually have at least 10% of our workforce working on internal gigs within the company. Obviously, there is not much monetary reward there, but suppose a marketing manager says, I need to build a communication plan for this product that I'm launching, and he launches a gig. You will have some people with marketing communication expertise who will chip into that gig. They add it to their internal profile saying, I've done this too, and that is how it helps their career. So that's an interesting side note, but coming back to the point, it is absolutely the core job of HR to make sure that we stand for the values and culture of the company, because nobody else will do it like we do. In terms of data, we have a lot of data in HR, like every other function. When I was in marketing and sales, when I was in factory also, we had data. In HR as well, we have a lot of data. I think the next step for HR is going to be what we call sentiment analysis. So you have a lot of surveys, you have a lot of verbatims that you get, you have a lot of data that you get. How are you going to use all that to analyze the sentiment of the workforce? How are they feeling in general about what? Also, how are you going to analyze these sentiments that the managers are expressing to the workforce through the text of the routine frequent feedback or the routine performance discussion, etc. So I think the next step for HR analytics is going to be analyzing the sentiment. This is something that we have done with customers. We are trying to do it with employees as well, is to see can we use these new technologies such as machine learning or artificial intelligence. There is something called language learning as well. Can we use these to analyze the sentiment, the sentimental undercurrents of what is happening in the organization? Because surveys give you multiple choice questions and beautiful pivot charts and graphs. But if you do that 3, 4, 5 times, you rapidly see that you need more information, you need more of a feel to see what's happening. So that's the first thing that comes to mind to me when I talk about HR analytics, how we can use it. How do we go beyond the numbers into the sentiment? That's all. Making people want to reskill is a challenge, and it can only be done by explaining to the person why that reskilling is needed. Yeah, I like to talk about this story which I read recently. Is there was a, you compare the job of an airline pilot from the 1930s to the A380 that they fly today. In the 1930s, the person was, there were sticks, levers, dials, gauges. He was looking at data. He was looking outside the windshield. He was looking outside the window, absorbing a lot of information, deciding what to do, and then pulling the sticks and levers to do what he decided to do. Yeah? In A380, when they fly today, it is fly-by-wire, it is autopilot, it talks directly to the satellite. So what does the pilot do? And there was a Sri Lankan pilot who was working as a captain of an A380 for Emirates. And in one of the conferences that I attended in my aircraft tire marketing days, I met him and I asked him about, so we got talking. And he said, last month I was flying from somewhere to Dubai, coming back to Dubai, and I had a medical case on board. And when I had that medical case on board, I needed to change my flight plan, go somewhere else, tell them to get an ambulance, offload the passenger, all the while. So in fact, the plane was being flown, but what was the airline pilot doing? If you compare the airline pilot of 2015 to the airline pilot of 1930, this airline pilot, because technology had taken over the core functional tasks, he was really focused on behavioral skills. He was communicating, he was pacifying his passengers, he was instructing his cabin crew. He was not calculating the extra fuel that would be needed. That was either being done by the co-pilot or the computer. But he was managing the situation. So in fact, the skills he was using were what we can call soft skills or behavioral skills. Yeah, he was talking to people. Now imagine asking a person who is operating sticks and levers today to be that A380 pilot tomorrow. And that's the challenge in reskilling, because this change happened over 70 years. Today it is happening in 1 year. Okay, the pace at which technology is changing. So I think that's the fundamental challenge that we often face, is that making people want to reskill. And the second is, because technology is doing a lot of the functional tasks increasingly, really the reskilling that you need to do is behavioral, it is mindset, it is skilling on things like initiative. You know, it is telling people we should not just stick to the job description. Sometimes you need to step out. Yeah, those are the kind of skills that we are training, and those skills are, let's face it, harder to learn than, I would say, even flying a plane. Just two short points. I was listening to Malcolm Gladwell recently, and he said, listen, because he put it in one sentence when he said, you cannot change the world in your pajamas, so we have to go out. We had interesting debates in our company 2 years ago when we started a hybrid working policy, similar questions, and based on the questions we said, let's not add one more floor to our office. Today we have to tell people stay home till we get something more to sit. We don't have, we under-designed the cafeteria because now people say, you know, we want to come to work 3 days a week. So we have a 3+2. So we say you work for 3 days and you can work from home 2 days, but we have so many people who come to work 4 or 5 days a week. So it, you know, predicting the future is a full-time industry nowadays. So when the pandemic happened, you already had, within the first week, you had articles about the post-COVID world, and it was written, nobody will ever go to office, and we felt, wow, wonderful, I'll never go to office. What we realize is that the post-COVID world, in many respects, is similar to the pre-COVID world. We are social creatures. We have not evolved, and we are not designed to sit alone in the room in front of a laptop. We are designed, and we have evolved to be with each other. So let's be true to our evolution, our history.